things that strikes me the most is how focused and raw it is. As you can hear, all sound deadening has been pulled out of this thing. Just when the sticky tyres pick up a pebble and hit the arches, it doesn't feel like a pebble. It feels like someone shot a bullet into the bodywork. It's so loud, it's so pure, it's so raw. And I'm talking to you right now while I'm sandwiched between a McLaren F1 and an F1 behind me. In fact, when the orchestra clicks and there's a crescendo. Only Sebastian Bach has never sounded that good.
Alright, back at the first checkpoint of the day, and I said I'd show you around the interior of this car, but first, something we haven't been using yet. Custom headsets. Now this car is pretty loud, as I'm sure you've gathered from the footage earlier in car, but this is just such a nice touch. Check this out. Look at these. Matching paint job, matching logos. The difference with these on, I mean, you don't really need it if it's just you, but if you've got a passenger in, talking to each other is just, it's night and day. I mean, I'm not sure if the sound on the in-car camera does it any justice, but it is super loud in here. You put these on, first of all, you feel like you're a fighter jet pilot. But second of all, with this little mic here, little mic that goes right in front of your mouth, you can talk really normally. In fact, you can almost just like softly speak. You can hear each other fine. And it basically stops you on a long journey having to shout to each other for hours on end. So really nice touch. And also, when you're wearing them, photographs look mega. You really do look like you're in some sort of road jet. It's brilliant. Anyway, nice touch. So main differences then of the interior of this car versus say a P1 GTR, I would say, is actually the quality of the finish on this. And what you might not take on board here is interior finish. Now first of all, the steering wheel, incredibly bespoke. This has had a lot of input and feedback from the owners who have bought this car. Oh, there goes an F1 starting up. GTR, no less. I'll talk to you after that thing stopped. Okay, just had a location change, so you'll see a completely different car next to me now. P1, I just had to drive quickly to lunch. Anyway, back in the LM. Yeah, interior details. So, based on a P1 GTR, which is their sort of track-focused P1, the internal quality has a sort of more sophisticated, refined finish to it. And that's because this is a road legal car. P1 GTR was never initially intended to hit the road. This was from day one. Now, the differences between the GTR and this, for example, all of the internals on a GTR, all of this exposed carbon roof, the edges are just a lot sharper. It's not as refined, it's pretty raw and hardcore. Now, not to say that this isn't, but just the way that they finished every single edge in here is just a much more bespoke finish. The carbon weave on the A pillars, it is a huge weave, but the way it's finished, it's stunning. It's got this beautiful like satin matte finish, and the whole cage is inbuilt all the way back. In here, there's no rear window either. That's gone. It's just one big carbon cave. And small features like this, the Lanzante logo.